Hello everyone, and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. Did you all get a chance to see the Second Coming in Denver last week? The Messiah has graced us with his presence and deigned to accept his party's nomination for President of the United States. Now, I don't know about you, but President seems a bit of a step down from Messiah, but hey, if the Messiah wants to slum it for a while with us gun-toting, God-fearing, bitter small-town mortals, I'm down with that. Apart from his wonder-filled speech, delivered perfectly with the cadence, voice inflections, and body language of a preacher leading his congregation to the promised land, you have to wonder, a football stadium? It seemed a wholly inappropriate venue for the Messiah, but perhaps Mount Sinai was already booked. Then it occurred to me, all the reports from the left-wing, abortion-loving, gay marriage support, and Democratic Party kiss-up media notwithstanding, Obama is no Messiah. He and his whole national party leadership are frauds from top to bottom. But while they have no hearts, they do have brains, surprisingly, and they also have memories, however selective. You see, they remember popping champagne early in the afternoon on Election Day 2004 when every exit poll showed John Kerry in a cakewalk over Bush, only to have the Texas hit come roaring back out of nowhere at the 11th hour and ruin the party. How could this happen? They cried through their champagne and caviar hangovers. John Kerry would have to cancel a windsurfing vacation. John Edwards would have to conduct his affairs in private still. So the Democrats huddled. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, called a coven at her house and pulled out her magic spell book. After gazing into the crystal ball, it was suddenly crystal clear. Values voters, values voters. Since Democratic leaders rarely think of God or morals, it never occurred to them to think of either in the run-up to the 2004 elections. But people out here were thinking of them and voted accordingly. See, God, faith, religion, eternal life, these are issues that matter to tens of millions of people, and most of them vote. Nancy Pelosi represents one of the most left-wing liberal congressional districts in the country, San Francisco. She spends a lot of time brooming from coast to coast over the God-fearing, gun-toting crowd. So the Wicked Witch of the East and West ordered her flying monkeys to go out to all the land and test a theory. What if the Democrats pretended to care about religion and faith issues? What if they talk the talk? What if they started saying things like God and my faith in their speeches? What if they did a whole Estee Lauder makeover and pretended to connect with these values voters? Would that work? Would they? Could they fool enough people all of the time to tip the scales in their favor? So they started. First, Hillary Clinton appeared in front of a pro-abortion group and started talking about respecting pro-lifers. The pro-abortion audience started scratching their heads. Then John Edwards started stumping, talking about how his faith was the main ingredient in determining his character. Enough said. The media began to sense a religious conversion among the Democratic leaders. But before the God plan could get put into place, Nancy and the rest of the coven would have to test market it. So they went to Bible country, the deep South, and found a couple of races where Republicans were weak. Weak because Republicans for years have been doing nothing but paying mostly lip service to values issues. The Dems got their guys to say God a few times, run a couple of TV spots about faith and values, and voila, instant victory. You could hear the cackles coming from Democratic National Party headquarters. First Mississippi, next the nation. It worked in congressional race after congressional race during the midterm elections in 2006. With Congress firmly in their grasp, they stirred the cauldron, threw in some Eye of Newt Gingrich, and concocted a potion for the White House. But a funny thing happened on the way to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Having opened the Pandora's box of religion, the thorny issue of butchering babies came flying out. Suddenly, the Democrats remembered why they've kept their mouths shut for 30 years about religion. It's abortion, stupid. It's hard to hold a Bible in one hand and an abortion scalpel in the other. So they had to scramble, and today they're in misdirection mode. Call it the great faith fake-out. Pretend to care about God and deflect, deflect, deflect about abortion. Say you don't like them either. Say you want to reduce their number. Now, wait for a minute. On this question of reducing abortion, ask yourself this. One of the biggest supporters of Democrats in the country is the abortion industry. Why, if I'm Joe Abortionist, would I want to support a party that wants to reduce my income by reducing what I do for a living? Joe Abortionist does not care about that because he knows it's all a bluff by his abortion buddies in Congress. They have no plans whatsoever to reduce abortions. But back to the plan. You get a nominee who sounds like a preacher man, talks about being a Christian, has that smug, above-it-all minister looking down his nose facial expression, and talks about change. See, that's why they needed the NFL stadium for his speech. Not to make room for Obama's ego, but to make room for the lies about religion. And make no mistake, they are colossal-sized lies because they're about God. And how fitting that the Dems have found their Messiah in the person of a man who has no qualms about grabbing power over the bodies of millions of dead children, some of them born as well as the unborn. Democratic leaders, some of them Catholics, are modern-day King Herods, who, fittingly enough, used religion as well in his quest to keep hold of his power, and when the real Messiah was an infant, no less. And killing babies to hold on to power. This they call change. You know what, Senator? Keep the change. Christians don't kill babies. And for the rest of us, come November, remember Obama. Soft on terrorists, tough on fetuses. I'm Michael Voris.